The job of an entrepreneur is to find problems that other people are not solving, and if there is a unique insight you have, you go ahead and solve that problem, even if it personally doesn't impact you. Some businesses need more capital and some businesses need less capital. If you're building a SaaS tool, you probably need less capital. But if you're doing retailing, where you also have to invest your money in working capital, as your business grows, your working capital needs grow, and therefore you need access to more money. MBA is absolutely not a requirement to get here. 2 out of 3 co-founders don't have MBA degrees. A lot of people who are doing well in our company don't have MBA degrees. When you're in the business of shipping millions of units every month, this process absolutely works like a factory. It works like a very, very well-oiled supply chain, and errors don't happen here. A lot of people tell us that your delivery capabilities, I think, next to just Amazon.
That's what I was getting into, how is the supply chain mechanism different from players like Amazon and Flipkart, like who have probably been in the game for the longer time and have deeper pockets to actually explore opportunities, to a player like Purplle? How different is that, and how you are acing at it?
I think building a company is not just about capital and about resources. I think capital is one part of the resource, and it's important to have, but it's not the only one to have. I think the second very key thing in the company that you need is you need a very high quality team that fixes the problems we are faced with, and just make sure that we do the right thing for the consumer, right? So that's, I think, the second thing, and I think we've been very lucky with that. I think our management team is rock solid and is able to largely solve any problem in a day or in a few weeks or so. The third very important thing to build a very enduring company is also maniacal focus on customers. I don't think anybody can take that away from us. While capital plays a role, I think people and maniacal focus on customers plays a bigger role, and I think we really ace at that. We've been acing that for very early part of our life, even when we had access to no capital, and I think that sort of continues to do well for us. One of the simple differences in my view versus, let's say, one of the large horizontal e-commerce companies is, I would say, because of our maniacal focus on customer service, we stock everything in our warehouse. We don't allow drop shipments that much. And so every single order is getting dispatched from our warehouse after being quality checked. And so you don't see these goof ups happening where, you ordered for something, but something else came, or you got something that was close to expiry, and so on and so forth. Beauty is a category where you have to operate in the realm of high trust.
Correct.
Yeah. It's not a product category where you see change the first time you apply a product. Yeah. It happens in a few cases, it doesn't happen in many cases. And so therefore, owning the trust of our consumers and having high engagement with them is actually our top priority, and therefore we've taken some calls that are good trade-offs to have, and we continue to have exceptionally high customer service experience.
From an e-commerce player to a marketplace to now thinking about omni-channels, are you thinking about omni-channels and retail stores?
It's pretty straightforward. As I said, we are in the business of building trust and engagement with our consumers. And I think for a lot of people in India, because we are still new to e-commerce, trust gets built by having offline presence. And people want to touch and feel your experience. People want to touch and feel products they are buying. And therefore, in my view, having both an online and an offline presence is important for a company in our category, and therefore we plan to have an omni-channel presence. We've just started that journey about 3 months ago. But I think we've just taken baby steps there. I think India has got to be a huge opportunity. I'll give you more examples.
Yeah.
If you happen to go to Shimla, and it's a big town in my view, I couldn't find a single beauty store. Yeah, good quality beauty store. If you happen to go to Ladakh, people actually get products from outside of Ladakh to consume. So, if you meet somebody, they will tell you, hey, I've told my friend who's coming from Delhi to bring this piece of lipstick and kajal for me. So I couldn't find a single beauty store in the main market of Ladakh. And so I think India is very underserved. And I think there is a huge opportunity to serve India. I think you can build 2,000 stores in India and, probably 10,000 stores in India. And if you're willing to play the game for 15, 20 years, and that's what we will do.
You mentioned about building the company, building it from 2011, 2012 till 2016. You had no funding coming your way, right? You were building it bootstrapped, you were building it with the fund that you had or the company's business that it was doing, right, at that time. How difficult is it for an entrepreneur who is starting off bootstrapped company in a space like this is right now? Would you suggest entrepreneurs do that, or should they be looking for, raising funds, raising capital from the very beginning?
We started the company with about 50 lakhs of our savings. Little did we realize that was too little money to have, and most of that money would probably go into just buying computers, paying advances for rent, and hiring a few people, and so on and so forth. I would say it was less money, but I think it gave us a start. We were lucky that some of our colleagues ended up investing in our, I would call them as friends and families and fools around, and I don't know what they saw in us, but they ended up giving us another 1.5 crores or so. I think we raised that money 6-8 months later, post starting. I think different businesses are meant to use capital differently, and so it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. Some businesses need more capital and some businesses need less capital. If you're building a SaaS tool, you probably need less capital. But if you're doing retailing, where you also have to invest your money in working capital, as your business grows, your working capital needs grow, and therefore you need access to more money. Ideally, bank debt should fund working capital, but at the start of your journey, when you're a small startup and you don't have much assets, it's nearly impossible to get a bank loan, and therefore you fund working capital using equity, and so that's what we did. We raised a angel round in 2013, 1.5 years after starting. I think one of the mistakes we made was that we started scaling too fast, and sometimes you're scaling not because the business deserves to scale, but you're probably not scaling the right way, and we realized it very quickly. And so when I say we were scaling too fast, we actually ran out of capacity in our warehouses really quickly. We couldn't fulfill orders on time. Customers were calling our customer care and were not happy with us. This was in 2013. And so we changed all of that. And the first thing we did was we moved from a small warehouse to a warehouse which was as large as 15 times that warehouse. But it was out of Mumbai, and so the rentals were very low. And that made sure that we could fulfill our orders on time. In 2015, January, we raised about 15 crores from IV Cap Ventures. I don't know what they saw in us. I don't think the business was in great shape. Maybe they just thought that they would back these founders, and over a period of time, these founders will build interesting company. And I think they've had a great outcome. Then I think, one after another, things started happening, and then we never looked back.
I'm sure you have also heard it in your journey that being a man, being a team of 3 people who are men, why are you building products for women? How do you know them?
Yeah.
Did that question come to you as well? Did that question haunt you at some point when you were seeing, when you were seeing your company growing, or you said that you're missing out the point? I know the data. If I don't know women, if I don't know makeup, that doesn't make any business sense.
I don't think so. That sort of came to us, that why are we in this business and will we be successful or not? I think if you are diligent enough about every problem, and in Hindi or in Urdu there's a word that if you try to solve it with a lot of passion, it's called shiddat. you get to it. And so we've gotten to it. We understand hair care, skin care, makeup really well today. And I think that's true for any entrepreneur. The job of an entrepreneur is to find problems that other people are not solving. And if there is a unique insight you have, you go ahead and solve that problem, even if it personally doesn't impact you. I think that's what makes entrepreneurs very interesting people to watch out for. And so it never came to our mind. Different investors over a period of time did say that they would not invest in our company because we did not have a woman co-founder. And I think, I hope we become their best anti-portfolio.
Does that work adversely in your brand image that you are creating also for this consumers?
Not at all. I think consumers interact with the platform. They also interact with the products we make. And they don't necessarily need to know who's behind them. For example, let's say take an example of a brand called Dove. Nobody in India would know who's the brand head of Dove, right? But they love the brand, and it's a very aspirational brand which is still very accessible to everybody. So you don't necessarily need to be famous. You don't necessarily need to have a founder story behind a product. Look, consumers don't care too much about brands, right? 95% of people who buy Nike have not known of Phil Knight. They buy Nike because Nike makes great shoes and they aspire to get Nike. And so I think this founder thinking, like people will buy these products because they are inspired by the founder's journey and all, I think is overrated. People buy products because they think these products solve their problem, and these products are aspirational products for them to buy.
And there are great product managers and minds behind them designing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's where I was trying to come to, the apps that you're designing, the website that you're designing. How much of a product thinking goes behind this? You said that you want to reach out to tier 2, tier 3 women, right? The accessibility of internet, the penetration of it is, at the highest scale probably in India right now, and it's happening every day as we speak. What sort of tweaks do you make in the kind of product that you have over the years that you have made so far, and how much importance do you give to able product managers in your company?
I would say for a company to succeed, what you need is maniacal focus on product, but product alone will not take you far. What you also need is great marketing, and what you also need is great distribution. Yeah. I think it's something that one should keep in mind, and therefore I wouldn't say product team in isolation does something. The way the process starts is we have a consumer research team that continuously talks to customers, also continuously talks to non-customers, and figures out why customers love us and what can we do better for them, and also talks to non-customers and figures out why these people are not adopting our app and perhaps shopping elsewhere, either offline or other online destinations. Typically, all consumer-facing people within the firm are advised to do about 25 hours of consumer interactions a month. So this would probably mean about 3 full days a month. This gives you very anecdotal, but I would say very inspiring insights into what you could solve for your consumers. To give you a perspective, because a lot of our consumers were using lower end mobile phones, let's say 3-4 years ago, we actually reduced the size of our app to 3 MB. So when you had to download our app, it would just download in a flash, and it won't take too much space on your phone, because anyways space on your phone was it was in scarce supply 4-5 years ago. Yeah. Today that's not the case. The second thing that we've done in our product that really helps our consumers is that because a lot of our consumers are buying these products for the first time, we have augmented reality in our app where you can actually try a lipstick real time on your face in the form of a video before actually buying it. Not just lipsticks, you can also try foundation shades and so on and so forth. Third, because a lot of our consumers come from tier 2 and tier 3 cities and don't have access to high quality dermatologists, again, using augmented reality, we have a feature where we can scan your face and tell you stuff that we think we should be solving for your face. So, one after another, Consumer research team and product team and marketing teams and brand teams are talking to customers every month. And sometimes you get these great ideas that your customers tell you what to work on, and you continuously sort of try to solve the problems for them.
Manish, do you also learn from other products that are there in the market? Are there some products that you think that, I need to do this, I need to keep this feature in my app or the website or the company that I am building?
Apple has built great stores, and when we are looking to build our stores, we are looking to learn what have companies in other industries done so well to improve their customer experience, right? We are all users of great internet products, and so there is always this thing that how are these internet products so good that we are so hooked to them? For example, Instagram. For example, Google Maps. Yeah. So I think across industries we look for inspiration that that we could sort of imbibe and see how we could make our products better and not take it for granted. We don't necessarily look for what other e-commerce companies are trying to do. I think that era is gone. We are not as obsessed about competition. We are only obsessed about improving every day, every week over where we were a week ago. And we do get inspired by, as I said, companies in other industries that have a great experience, be it on the app or off the app in their own stores, and we'd love to learn from them.
If you have to mention 2 skills that your product managers definitely need to have, what would that be?
I think the first one is listening to customers. I think we should do it more than what we do today, and I think it's just an underrated thing. Like, I think customers tell you what they want. If you ask consumers very open-ended questions, they will tell you what they want. It's up to you whether you can build it or not. Some of them may not be able to tell you, but you have to read between the lines. So I think listening to your customers, I would say, is the most important skill that a product manager should have.
For you guys at Purplle, what has been the strategy so far in the digital marketing space, if I may ask?
We don't target extremely premium customers.
Right.
So what we are obsessed about is, are our consumers hearing about us or not? Not necessarily, is everybody in India hearing about us or not, right? So I think that's one. I think our ambition is that, if, let's say there are 10 crore people looking for beauty ideas every day on YouTube in India, how can we be present in 25% of those consumers' mind every day? And that's what we are working towards. I think we've been pioneers of content creation, using vernacular as a medium for probably 5 years now. To give you a perspective, this started about 5 years ago. A lot of tier 2 consumers in India buy beauty products when there is a special event in the family.
Of course.
It could be functions like weddings, engagement, so on and so forth. It would also be different festivals that lots of communities in India celebrate. And so the idea was, how do we catch them at that right moment where they're actually looking to buy and influence them to come and buy from us? And so we've partnered with, I would say, 15 different communities in India, content creators from those communities. And we've created content in a language that they understand. And that's what has led to wherever we are today. I think what keeps us going is we are probably just getting started. My sense is there is an opportunity to build a $20-30 billion company in beauty from India for the world. And that's the journey we are on.
Very interestingly, this is something that I call as the big tech tax, the Amazon tax, the Meta tax, the Google tax, which they take up for you to be visible in people's feed, right? Is there a way to avoid that? Are you figuring something out to reach to people without paying these taxes to these mega companies?
One is you have to realize that this is not a tax you're paying. These companies are in a position because they deserve to be in this position. Yeah, I think you must look at them with a lot of inspiration and not necessarily, tax tends to have a negative connotation. I wouldn't put it that way. I think we are always inspired by Google. We are always inspired by Instagram. We are always inspired by Amazon for the scale it has. We are always inspired by Microsoft, for the scale it has again. I don't necessarily look at it this way. I see them as marketing channels and I see them as service providers. It is our job to make our unit economics work. It's not their job to make it work. And so as long as you make good margins, as long as your costs are lower than your margins, you make money. As a business, you scale. Whose service you use for marketing or for technology doesn't really matter.
You mentioned about the people from tier 2, tier 3 cities. You know, I come from a tier 3 city myself, and I've seen the buying behavior of people, right? Until unless I see a lipstick in front of me, I'm not sure about the color, I'm not sure about the texture, I'm not buying it, correct? How do you break this mold with a company which is tech first, digital first? And how successful you have been so far in doing that?
It's about building trust with your consumers and giving them comfort that the color they're looking at on the screen is the color they're going to buy. And so there are 2 or 3 things we do to make sure that they feel convinced that what they're buying is right for them. The first, as I said, is augmented reality. So you can actually swatch a shade on your lips real time and see how it looks on your face in the video format, just like how would you do it in a store. We have videos on many products. So those videos give you a sense of how the color looks, how the texture feels on different skin tones and skin types. We have a service called Purplle Elite, which is our loyalty program. As part of that loyalty program, you get access to a beauty advisor in Mumbai or trained in Mumbai. And you can actually book a 30-minute slot with her, appointment with her, and over Zoom, she will help you with problems related to your skin and makeup. So if you're in a tier 3 city where you don't have access to high quality beauty advisors, we are at your beck and call 9 to 7 during the day. Just open your app, book an appointment, and we will book a 30-minute slot for you, and you can get on a Zoom or a Google Meet call, and we will show you all the shades you want.
Very interestingly, like I was, when I was doing this research, I was looking at some ads from Purplle. As I'm not the TJ, I have not seen these ads before,
Sure.
but I was seeing it some days back, and I saw Sara Ali Khan featuring there. Sara Ali Khan, as a person, as the brand image of Sara Ali Khan goes, it somehow does not fit with the kind of brand story that Purplle wants to tell for the people of tier 2, tier 3. How do you make that connect, and why would you have her as a brand ambassador?
I disagree with you, and I'll tell you why. So as a brand, we want to be, beauty for every Indian person, beauty for all. And therefore, when you're trying to reach out to a lot of people, you want to have a face that they relate to. We are also a brand which wants to be very fun for our consumers, and therefore Sara fits perfectly. I think Sara in herself is also a very phenomenal story where, she used to be quite overweight. She is transformed into somebody who looks so amazing today. I think Sara as a person is very approachable. Just see what kind of content she puts out on Instagram. She is not shying away from putting anything that makes her look funny. While she was born in a very privileged family, I don't think she has used it to her advantage. And so, when you're trying to influence millions of consumers in India, you need to choose a face that they relate to. You need to choose a face that is popular. You need to choose a face that stands on its own 2 feet, which I think she does. You need to choose a person who is fit for your brand from a personality point of view, which is fun, quirky, down to earth, and I think that's what Sara is. So, I think we are quite privileged to have her.
Super. And connected to this is one question, Manish, that I have. With a lot of funding, there comes the responsibility or the burden of expenditure, and
Sure.
in order to make yourself visible, you have to put in those dollars in, marketing yourself. For the last couple of years, it has been a sort of a, bumpy ride for you guys as well, where you had to spend a lot in making yourself visible as well. How is the finance guy you seeing all this? How are you taking it up?
I think there are 2 kinds of places where you spend money. There is investment and there is expenditure. Yeah, investments are supposed to be done, which will lead to benefits in future. Expenses are expensed at that point in time only. So I think when we look at expenses or we look at capital usage, we look at where it is going. Is it going towards building a better future for us, and therefore should we be doing it today, or is it just getting expensed and therefore not creating any future value for us? So I think there are two places where we invested a reasonable amount of money over the last 2 years. The first one is actually in people. Today we have a very solid team. You know, a lot of people say that you're the average of 5 people you sort of hang out with. I think I hang out with my founders, co-founders, and my senior team, and I'm absolutely in a great place because these people are absolutely solid. You know, it's been a privilege to have them here, and I think that's where we've invested ahead of future. The second place where we've invested is in building our brand, and I think building our brand again is an investment and not necessarily as an expense. So I think the CFO in me, I would say we've been very judicious about using our capital really well, and you know, you will see that in our results going forward. I think we are very close to break even. We will become profitable very soon, and you know, once that happens, you know, I think the company will be on a phenomenal path.
You said that you're building the right team. You said that you invest in people. What sort of people do you invest in terms of qualities and skills, if I may have to ask? Do you look at their degrees? Do you look at their certification? Is MBA a requirement to get into a company like this?
MBA is absolutely not a requirement to get here. 2 out of 3 co-founders don't have MBA degrees. A lot of people who are doing well in our company don't have MBA degrees. I think what we are looking for more than degrees is what we are looking for people who are culture fit with us, who have similar values as we have. And you know, our values are people who can dream really large. Our values are people who have a very long-term view towards life. We look for values like, you know, do you want to make things happen faster? Our values are you frugal? Our values are you passionate about something more than anybody else in this world? And so once you find these things, I think that's what we're really looking for in people. Skills, of course, we look and check for, but I would say attitude is always more important than skill. I would say 2 of our best performers, I would say, came from, one of them is not an MBA. One of them is an MBA, but not from a big school, and I think they happen to take the biggest risks at Purplle.
Manish, as you know, we have titled this particular show that we are doing as Unicorns. You recently, you know, were part of that unicorn club. Does something change, Manish, in general?
Nothing changes. You know, I think when you've been around for 11 years and you've also performed fairly well, you kind of live life for much longer term, and so these minor things that happen in your life where, let's say, you hit a 6 in cricket, but if you've been playing for 10 years, that 6 doesn't really matter in life. I think when you're preparing for next 15-20 years, being a unicorn or not being a unicorn, I think these are just milestones that come along the way. I don't think anything changes in our life.
And what is Manish's view for the next 15-20 years that you are building for?
I think my view is India will become the greatest nation on the planet, and we are absolutely in the right time. We should thank our stars that we were born in this era. And you know, I think India as a country will do really well, and entrepreneurs from India and companies from India will do really well, not just in India but across the world. 3
skills that people need to develop right now so that they can make use of this, you know, boom, this time that we are living in to the best of use.
You know, as I said, you know, life is not that short term, so one should not optimize for next 3, 4, 5 years. You know, you also can't prepare for success because you have to choose a career. Whether you succeed in it or not is actually not something you can today decide. And so I don't have this, you know, specific advice that I would give to people. I think the only advice I would give people is stay curious. You know, develop the habit of learning. Not learning from an outcome point of view, but learning from a journey point of view. Just keep learning, because that's what keeps you becoming better at your game every day, and you never realize, you know, like 10 years of compounding makes you really good. I think the only advice I would have is keep learning, stay curious, And learning for different people happens differently. For some people, it happens in the form of meeting other people. For some people, it happens in the form of watching videos and maybe listening to podcasts. For some people like me, it happens in the form of books. So, I think just stay curious and keep learning. And so if that's a skill you can develop, I think it's wonderful. Most people don't have it.
In the life's game that you're playing, the cricket that you're playing right now, how close are you from hitting a century? And
I think we are just getting started. And century is not a milestone. I think the milestone to look forward to is, can I play this game for next 20 years or not? I think if you're playing a match thinking today I want to hit a century, I think you'll definitely not hit one. You have to take each ball as it comes, and you have to just say that I want to stay fit and I want to do the right things, and hopefully I can play for next 20 years.
Are you a fan of Virat Kohli?
I'm a fan of Sachin Tendulkar. I think in life it's important, you will be known or you will be remembered as a better human being much long after you have stopped playing cricket. And likewise, in our world, we will be remembered for human beings we were, not so much for the companies we created. And therefore, I think Sachin has been that ambassador for India for a very long time, and I really admire him.
Thank you very much, Manish, for having us here, having this candid conversation with us, telling us about the ins and outs of your business. If you have learned something, do tell us in the comment section how you liked this first episode. Do tell us who you want to see in this particular property next. And do tell us if you have any questions for Manish that we can forward to him. Thank you once again, Manish. It was a pleasure talking to you.